Welcome to Ghostly, the podcast that puts the paranormal on trial.
Every 2 weeks, I unearth a chilling ghost story, tracking down the legends, the eyewitness accounts, and the history behind a haunting.
And I, your friendly neighborhood skeptic, get to tag along to poke holes in her theories. My job is to find those logical explanations like the creaky floorboards behind the ghostly footsteps.
In the end, it's not up to us. It's up to you, our listener, to weigh the evidence.
And you get to decide, is it a genuine haunting?
Or is it all entirely senseless talk?
Before we summon the spirits today, make sure to hit that subscribe or follow button wherever you're listening. It's the best way to make sure that you're always in the know and you always get the latest spooky tale. And we're still doing weekly this month.
Oh, yes. I know I said every 2 weeks, but it's October, so it's weekly. And of course, as always, we are your hosts.
I'm Pat.
And I'm Rebecca. So now let's turn the lights down and see what's waiting for us in the shadows.
All right.
Does John Lennon haunt this earth?
Oh, wow. This is going to be a good episode. What are your thoughts on John Lennon? Not as far as his ghost, but like what you've seen from John Lennon. I mean, we were probably too young when he was still alive to realize who he was.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But I will say, even as someone who grew up kind of after the Beatles, but you still have to have a favorite Beatle, and John is my favorite Beatle.
Okay,
like,
why so?
As a girl, you also have to pick the one that you're like, who would you marry? Like, for me, it would always be John. I mean, though Paul is
FMK
cute.
You're talking about? I can't say what those words mean, but yeah.
I don't know if we ever did that with them, but just conceptually. No,
Ringo would be the one left out kind of in that particular equation.
I mean, now as like an adult, I'm probably more like, Paul seems more stable. But no, I always thought John he seemed more passionate and more, artistic and just kind of the one with the soul, of the Beatles.
Although probably your favorite songs from the Beatles probably written by Paul.
Probably, yeah.
Okay, so like, did your parents listen to the Beatles?
No, I mean, I'm sure they heard them, but they were unfortunately not. I think they were a little early for the Beatles. Okay. Like maybe my stepmom loved the Beatles. She saw them OG back in the day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Beatlemania.
Beatlemania.
Beatlemania. So for me, I grew up with a hippie mom and a greaser dad, which was a weird combo because greasers and hippies never really...
have you seen the movie Grease? Or Grease 2? I mean, of course they're
not hippies, though.
Well, that's true. Yeah. Sandy's more of a preppy, not hippie. That's true.
But hippies were like the complete opposite of greasers. So it was a weird dynamic duo. Mm-hmm. And to my mom, she had Sgt. Pepper. Mm-hmm. That was the one album that she had. But besides that, I mean, Sgt. Pepper really shows how hippie she was. Besides that, the Beatles before that were a little bit too poppy for her liking, probably.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, Sgt. Pepper's was my first Beatles album that I really fell in love with.
Yeah, so. I used to eat smoked sandwiches and listen to that album, as a record. But anyways, John Lennon was one of the most famous and influential people of the 20th century, probably even still to this day, probably one of the tops.
Yeah,
I would say. As a founder of the Beatles, he changed music forever. But behind his sharp wit and rebellious spirit, he was a complex man who battled deep emotional pain and mental health struggles his entire life.
They say legends never die, and for John Lennon, that might be true. Long after his murder outside the Dakota, witnesses have seen his figure bathed in light, heard his piano playing in empty rooms, and felt that somehow the music never really stopped.
And, that is, if you go to New York City, the Dakota is definitely a tourist spot now where you go and you see where he was shot. So
yeah.
It's hard to, I always find it weird that we celebrate people where they die.
Right. Well, they also celebrate where he lived and where he grew up. But absolutely. And I will say we could do a whole episode on the Dakota.
Yeah. Well,
we should. Haunted.
We should.
We should. We may do that at some point. So
okay. So you studied abroad.
Yes.
did you go to Liverpool?
I did.
Did you do the Beatles stuff?
I did the whole thing. It was great. This was back in the late 90s, and I got to go to Strawberry Fields and
Forever.
And his house where he grew up or spent some time growing up, or it was either him or Paul's. I don't remember.
It was probably Paul's.
It was probably Paul's, actually, now that I think about it. But I did get to meet John Lennon's uncle, I think it was. He was just like an old man, and he would honestly, this was just one of the favorite things that ever happened. We were on the bus, like they have like the magical tour bus or whatever.
Magical
and
mystery
tour bus. And they stopped and they're like, hey, so sometimes, I forget his name.
Greg is here.
Yeah, Greg, when he gets tired of walking and he sees us, he flags us down for a ride.
That's funny.
It was just so sweet. And he got on and he was just like, hi, everybody. And and you could tell he looked like John. Like you could tell he was obviously related to him. I think I have a picture somewhere of him. And we just like gave him a ride to his home or whatever.
That's weird.
Yeah.
So
I went to where they played their first show. The Cavern.
So I was in Liverpool, spent the night there, but never did the Beatles stuff.
Oh no!
Because I was on like a tour that was very much like we don't have time for the Beatles stuff. But you can come back here afterwards, and it was a 16-day tour. I mean, how many? I didn't have that much vacation time.
Yeah, that's a lot of
16
time.
days is a lot.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to.
Did you go to the cathedrals though?
Yes.
If you haven't been,
yes.
you'd be surprised. There's these two cathedrals in Liverpool. One is like super traditional and one is like modern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was in the traditional one.
Okay. I went to both. They were very interesting.
All right.
Sorry. Side tour.
Well, I mean, this is about John Lennon. So
it is those.
Him.
So, we've got
jumping
some cred.
into it. Yeah. So, all right, Rebecca, do you have a ghost story for us?
Oh, I do.
Okay.
It's time for a spooky tale from Rebecca.
The first time I heard it, I thought someone was playing a trick. It was late, past midnight, and the Dakota was quiet. I was standing outside, looking up at the windows where John Lennon used to live. The streetlights made everything feel frozen, caught between New York bustle and something sacred. Then came the sound, soft but clear, a guitar chord followed by a few familiar notes. It wasn't coming from a speaker or from a passing car. It was drifting down from above, where somewhere near the very spot where John had been shot. I remember holding my breath. The air felt charged, like the world was listening. And then I saw him, just for a second, a man standing in the archway, long hair, round glasses glinting in the light. He looked peaceful, almost amused, like he'd just told the universe a joke and was waiting for it to laugh back. Before I could move, he faded, leaving only the faint echo of Imagine in the air. It wasn't eerie. It was kind, like a reminder that music doesn't die, and maybe neither do the people who give it to us. Every time I walk by the Dakota now, I swear I still hear that soft strumming, just enough to make me look up and smile.
All right. So how much of that is based upon evidence that you've collected?
So they're kind of two different things put together. The idea of hearing his music does happen, not necessarily always in conjunction with seeing him in the archway, though. That's a separate sighting, but they're definitely both things that have happened.
From what little I know of John, I mean, we all know little of him. He had a very complicated life, a lot of details that probably most people don't know about him. He was very forward facing person where you would see what he wanted you to see, but there was another side to him that you didn't see. Anyways, but from what I know about him, I don't think he would be playing Imagine. By the way, I don't think he'd be playing his most popular song at that time. But whatever,
I don't know.
Yeah. All right. So, are you ready for some pet facts?
Let's do it. Pet facts.
Facts. Facts. From a skeptic point of view. Facts. Facts. He presents it all to you. Facts. Facts. Facts.
All right, so John Winston Lennon was born in Liverpool, as we probably all know. Now, just so you know, there's a lot of Beatles history that I'm not going to cover.
I was just going to say, this is not a Beatles episode.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
Although maybe we should do George at some point too. You know?
We'll have to see.
So yeah, so when you're listening to this, don't be like, well, you forgot about this part, you forgot about that part. You know, there are parts that I'm intentionally leaving out. I'm giving you what is relevant to the history I want to present to you.
John Lennon.
Yeah. So he was born in Liverpool, England on October 9th, 1940. So we just came across his birthday a little bit ago.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Do the math, find out how old he would have been.
I was just going to say, I have to do the math on that.
I'll keep talking
Okay.
while you do the math. He was born during a World War II air raid. His early life was marked by trauma and feelings of abandonment that would shape him forever. His father was a sailor who just disappeared, and his mother, Julia, struggled to raise him. When he was 5, John went to live with his strict but loving aunt, Mimi, which she's the one that got him a guitar and everything, got him started in everything. But his mother re-entered his life later, sparking his love for music by buying him his first guitar. He always carried the wound of that initial separation. So his mom was, kind of like the cool mom, but she had a lot of things going on. So that's why the aunt.
I mean, that's always, I think, very unstabilizing for a kid to not have your mom as a consistent or parent,
especially
or having a consistent parent figure.
Especially when they're that you just love them because they're so cool,
right?
And
you just wish they could be around. Really, he would have been 80 or 85 this year.
Wow. And Paul McCartney still doesn't have gray hair. Just putting it out there. Tragically, when John was 17, his mother was killed after being hit by a car. This loss devastated him, compounding his feelings of anger and abandonment at that point. He was very much like me. He was a class clown and a rebel. I would consider myself a rebel, maybe. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But if you call yourself a rebel, then you're really not, right? He used him being tough, and he had this witty exterior to hide his deep insecurity and pain. And his aunt famously warned him,
"The guitar's all right, John, but you'll never make a living out of it."
Oh, wow. She had to eat those words, I'm sure. As a teenager...
I can't do a Liverpool accent. I'm sorry.
No,
I was trying.
Try.
Yeah,
don't
I
even
can't.
Try.
No.
As a teenager, John started his band, The Quarrymen. So that's a little bit of Beatles history there.
Yeah.
And in 1957, he met Paul, and the two quickly bonded.
Hey, can I interject here? As part of my research, I found a story that talked about that the two met when John was playing with the Quarrymen at St. Peter's Church in Liverpool at a fete. They always call it a fete, which is basically a party. It was a garden party.
Oh, wow.
And they and John was playing, and Paul heard, and I think he came there to hear them because he had heard about them, and then that's where they met the first time.
Have you ever seen the movie The Beat?
No.
Oh, it's about the Beatles and stuff like that. It's really good movie. If you haven't seen it and you're looking for little Beatles history and stuff like that, I don't think it's 100% accurate, but it really paints a good picture of this meeting and the times before Ringo, really. So they soon added George, and then after that, Ringo. And that completed the Fab Four, right? Mm-hmm. The Beatles' electrifying music sparked Beatlemania, a worldwide phenomenon. Screaming fans followed them everywhere. John was known as the smart or witty Beatle. Paul was the cute one. I don't remember what the rest of them were. What George was.
I mean, George
Ringo
would probably
was.
be like the sensitive one, and
Ringo,
Ringo was just
Ringo.
He
still is just Ringo. Yeah. So the smarter, witty Beatle, but privately, the pressure of fame was crushing to him. He later admitted that this period was one of his darkest. He was drinking heavily, self-medicating, for whatever that means, and felt completely lost. He described himself as being in his Fat Elvis period, feeling deeply insecure about his appearance and his life. He revealed that one of the Beatles' biggest hits was actually a literal cry for help.
So, quote, I was fat and depressed and I was crying out for help. It was my Fat Elvis period. You see the movie. I'm very fat, very insecure, and he's completely lost himself.
Yeah. So that insecurity took him till the day that he died. He had very low self-worth. In fact, one story that I heard that I was just, this is what made me realize how dark John Lennon can get, is that when he first heard Bruce Springsteen's first album, he said, "Oh, I'm not a guitarist. I'm not even worthy to call myself a musician."
Yeah.
Because of Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that's something.
Well, going through anything like this is always, I think, difficult for any star, right?
Yeah.
Anyone that has that shot to fame like that, especially like back then, that was TV was still pretty new, radio, like some of that's like in this kind of music, like that was just like there's not a roadmap for it, and some people can handle it better than others, you know.
Well, and if you think about it too, like he had to watch everything that he said, and he would constantly mess up. Like when he said that the Beatles were bigger than Jesus.
Right.
Yeah. And then they were throwing their albums, burning them, but they had to buy him to burn them. So it gave him some extra money, but still, it had to be hard to be John.
Yeah.
The song Help was a genuine plea, but because it was part of the happy pop sound of the Beatles, the true meaning was missed by the public.
Of course.
So in 1966, skipping way ahead in here, John met artist Yoko Ono.
Oh, okay. We should shout out, he was married before and had Julian, which is, I think.
Which Julian definitely has the demeanor of John, you know. Yeah. I always have felt bad for him, you know.
Yeah, no, he definitely had a challenging life, you know.
So, and that's where like, Hey Jude, that song, Paul wrote it for Julian. So.
Right.
Anyways, Yoko Ono became his constant companion, and he felt she was the only person who truly understood his pain. Mm-hmm. Their intense relationship, along with the creative and business disputes, led to the Beatles' breakup in 1970, although that's questionable right now, too.
I think that. I feel like there's a lot that went into that. You know.
And I don't think it was just Yoko's fault.
That's what I
think the Beatles were done.
Yeah, they went through so much, and they're all such artists. You know, that happens with a lot of bands where they break apart to go do other things, and you know, we don't know what would have happened if they had all stayed alive.
Yeah, but Ben never left Jerry.
Actually, I think that does happen, but that's all right.
Freed from the Beatles, John finally began to confront his trauma head on. And there is a YouTube video about this that is crazy. He and Yoko underwent what they called primal scream therapy.
Ooh, that sounds fun.
Yeah, with Dr. Arthur Genova. This intense experimental therapy involved revisiting and screaming out the buried pain of his childhood.
Okay.
So he had to bring up the pain, and then he would scream at the top of his lungs.
Wow.
In like a warehouse area. I'm hoping it wasn't like in
I'm hoping it wasn't
in a little apartment or something.
Yeah.
This experience resulted in his rawest, most personal album, John Lennon, Plastic Ono Band. On the songs like Mother, he screamed directly to his parents.
Okay, I'm not going to scream this.
Yeah.
Mother, you had me, but I never had you. Father, you left me, but I never left you.
Yeah, those words, man.
I'm sure a lot of people can connect to those words.
Yeah. John and Yoko became famous for their peace activism, including their bed-ins for peace. His most famous solo album, Imagine, became a global anthem for hope. However, his personal struggles continued. In 1973, he and Yoko separated for a period that he called his lost weekend.
Okay.
Which is a lot longer than weekend. It was 18-month stretch. Mostly spent in Los Angeles, was marked by severe alcohol and drug abuse, public outburst, and deep depression. He was spiraling, trying to cope with the separation and his unresolved issues, especially with abandonment issues. You know, that had to be a lot for him too. John and Yoko eventually reunited, and their son Sean was born in 1975. John made a radical decision that he retired from music completely for 5 years to become a house husband. He baked bread and focused entirely on raising his son, finding a peace and stability he had never known. And then you think of Julian, it's so sad.
I know. Sometimes those, second kids later on in life get a different upbringing than the first one. But,
I mean, I'm so glad for Sean that he, had such a beautiful father in his life that cared deeply about him. But I feel for Julian at that time.
Though I know that Julian, Cynthia, his mom, was pretty great to him.
Yeah, absolutely. In 1980, he returned to music with the album Double Fantasy. He seemed happy and creatively re-energized. Also, too, there was talk that he made up with Paul, and he had George on some of his albums. I don't know if he had Ringo on any of his albums, though, but there was peace finally in his life. But then on the night of December 8th, 1980, John was shot and killed outside his New York apartment. He was only 40 years old.
Yeah, crazy.
And I don't bring up the killer in here because I don't like to shout out anybody.
No.
Especially the person had a lot of demons that they were dealing with too.
Yeah.
John Lennon's life was a study in contrast. He was a global icon who felt like an abandoned child, a witty spokesman who was deeply insecure and had to watch everything that he said, and an advocate for peace who battled his own inner anger. He was angry a lot. His willingness to pour his pain and mental health struggles into his music made his work timeless and profoundly human. One of his most famous quotes perfectly captures his journey.
Life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans. I didn't realize that was John Lennon.
Yeah. Yeah, that was John Lennon.
Wow. Okay.
All right, Rebecca.
Because I think that's often true.
Yeah. Do you have anything to add to this history?
Okay, so I have some things to add, and they're definitely on the paranormal side, but they're not about they're pre his death.
Yeah.
They're about him and things that are documented that he said. So it felt like it belonged more in history than in the ghosty side.
Sure.
So two things. So one is, prior to his death, John Lennon himself reported seeing otherworldly happenings. He claimed to have seen a UFO from one of the windows in the apartment in the Dakota building. It said that he also repeatedly met a ghost at the Dakota he called the Crying Lady Ghost. She was believed to be lurking benevolently in the hallways of the older parts of the by now extended and modified building. So there's, again, like I said, we could do a whole episode on the Dakota, which, we're not doing tonight, but he was part, if we do that episode, that was definitely, he was one of the people who claimed to see a ghost there. I'm also going to say, I'm about to bring up Cynthia, but also supposedly the first house he and Cynthia bought was haunted, though Cynthia made that claim, not necessarily John.
Okay.
So here's another thing. 1966, according to his first wife, Cynthia, John received a letter from a psychic warning him that he would be shot while living in the United States. From that time onwards, he developed an interest in spiritualism and attended numerous seances. It's rumored that during one seance, the spirit of his manager, Brian Epstein, warned him that he would be shot and to take care. In 1969, while holidaying in Greece, Lennon was warned that he would be killed on an island. Believing that the astrologer was referring to a Greek island, the musician returned home. Years later, his wife, Yoko Ono, realized that the astrologer was in fact referring to the island of Manhattan. So it seemed that John lived his whole life in the public eye in fear of assassination, despite the warnings of psychics, astrologers, mystics, and his own sense that he would die young. He could do nothing to avoid that. What was ultimately his fate. So, yeah. So he, his whole, in addition to all the things that you said, he was told by psychics and by people that he was going to be shot.
Yeah.
And he felt that burden. Yeah.
I see you have a quote too.
Oh, I do. This was something that he once said, quote, "I am an optimist about eternity. I believe in life after death. I believe that death is not an end, but a beginning."
All right. And, so yeah, he was deeply spiritual. A lot of the Beatles were, they did go to like India and seek some gurus, and they did meditation and some of the drug use that they had was inspired by religion as well.
Yes. Open up the mind kind of thing.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. But they did it for religious experience first. And then, yeah. So, well, we're going to take a quick break. And after you hear from our sponsors, we will be back with the debate. All right, we are back. Before we do the debate, I just want to give a quick shout out to Bob for having us at Scaring is Caring, which was a great little event. I hope it grows to be something huge at one day. It was a charity event that Ghostly kind of partnered with to do. And we do have a video of it too. And I know Rebecca posted that in Society. I'm not sure if you posted it to the Ghostly page.
Yeah, I think I put it on the regular Facebook page too, and then shared it to Society.
It's not on our YouTube because we shared the stage with Bob and Jack Chavez, Channeling Chavez, his new show that's on YouTube. Go ahead and, give them a like because their YouTube stuff is fantastic. So.
Jack is so interesting to listen to. But yeah, it's on, it was streamed on WJOB, the radio station Bob is on, their YouTube. So, but yeah, you can find the link on Facebook and from that, or look up WJOB on YouTube, and we're in the middle between the two. Yeah. So,
all right. So, Rebecca, are you ready for a little debate here?
I am very ready. So I'll say when it comes to John Lennon's ghost, I'll just kind of talk about my philosophy of what I chose, because obviously there's a lot of stuff out there. So there's a lot of sightings where there's like people who are like, I dreamed that John Lennon's ghost visited me, or like, I'm a musician and John Lennon came to me, and like whatever, like just kind of like random people that never knew John. These sightings are nowhere near anywhere where he ever was.
Sure.
So I did not pick those.
Okay.
All right. So I focused on John Lennon sightings that are related to people that he knew in life.
Okay.
So that's where we're going with that. Okay. So the first one is that kind of most famous ones. There's a lot of people that claim this particular thing. So it's said that the spirit of John Lennon lives on in the Dakota Apartments. Okay. So, I think we talked about that he was killed, that when he was killed, he and Yoko were living in this fancy apartment building in New York. So one resident,
he was stalked and killed too. It
the
person waited for him.
Exactly. Yeah. So, okay. Sorry, let me skip. So in 1983, so a lot of people say this, but there's a specific sighting. So in 1983, 3 years after his death, 2 residents of the building who knew John when he was alive, Joey Haro and Amanda Moores, saw John Lennon standing in the doorway where he had been assassinated. They said he was bathed in an eerie light, and John appeared deep in thought, perhaps contemplating the utter futility of his passing. So Moores stated that she was tempted to approach Lennon and try to talk to him, but his expression dissuaded her. Haro reported that when Lennon appeared, an eerie light surrounded him. Sorry, that was just they both kind of said the same thing. They didn't try to talk to him, and eventually he faded away.
All right. And then you have another one in there too about one resident witnessed John Lennon playing the piano right in their apartment.
That's later.
Oh,
I'm sorry. You know what? I'm so sorry. That meant that's supposed to be, that's the next one.
Oh, okay,
I'm so sorry.
okay.
That's up there. Yeah.
All right. So, okay.
I think I meant to get rid of that whole paragraph, actually. Sorry.
Okay. So this is hard because I think all of these celebrity ones are difficult because there's going to be a lot of evidence, right? There's going to be a lot of people claiming stuff like you were saying, you know, people that have these absurd kind of, things that they believe. And, maybe they dreamed of John, maybe, but I mean, it doesn't mean it was him,
Right.
you know. And I'm glad that they took inspiration from that, in some regard. That's great. And it's a way to honor somebody. So I don't hate that happens. I just, in this context, it's very difficult because it's always funny that it's these super famous people that everybody, when they die, they see. And this gives it a little bit of credibility because it are people that know him. I just don't know the exact situation where it happened. And he talks about an eerie light surrounding him. Also, too, I don't know who they are as characters. I don't know what they're into. What if they're, into psychedelics or something like that. I don't know about that. So I'm going to give this one a 1 just because there's so many details, even though you did provide names, and I'm impressed with that.
I know you like names. So I was excited when I found the names.
I do. When somebody owns something, it means something more to me, But names, definitely, that's great. And, it's hard because people are mourning, his loss, especially if they knew him. Like it says that they knew him, but I don't know if they were friends with him or if they just knew.
Yeah, one article I saw said they were his friends, but then I found this one that was like 2 residents of the building, and that seemed more probable to me. Like maybe they met him.
Passerbys, that just so happened to have known him, maybe talked to him once or twice.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I mean, I would be a little bit more. I would come out a little bit stronger against them. I feel bad for people mourning the loss of somebody, and then they say that they see them, and then here I am, this guy that's like, no, that didn't happen. I mean, if you feel like you've seen somebody that that you loved and they passed, then that is something that I think you should take to heart. I think that's meaningful. And now I don't believe it necessarily, but that doesn't matter what some guy in Chicagoland area thinks about your ghost thing. It matters more that you have these feelings and that moved you in some capacity. And I'm glad it did. Yeah. But for this, I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to give it a 1 then. Okay. Just because. I'm going to give it a 7. Okay. Because again, the fact that it isn't just all like, yep, people say they see, like it really, there is somebody who came forward with it. So I don't know that everybody that has claimed to see him in that spot has seen him, but the fact that, they came forward is pretty strong. Yeah. So now the piano thing, I did read that in a few places, but most often it was talked about in that, and I'm sure there are other people who have claimed to see John Lennon playing a piano. But the best one is that Yoko said that I have something to say about the one person and the other thing that you said. So you said that okay. So I'm reading Rebecca's notes here because I have them in front of me while we're doing this. A resident witnessed John Lennon playing the piano right in their apartment sometime after the murder. Many people claimed to see Lennon leaning against the wall in his characteristic white flared suit in the stone archway where he died. So those are the 2 things in the building. So, I mean, for this particular thing, of course you're going to see them in the most famous outfit that they wore because that's what you remember them as. It's the white outfit. So it's the white. So it's the hippie in white? Yeah. That's crazy. But anyways, I think it's weird that we see people in their most famous clothing, which if you're a ghost, wouldn't you want to be in your most comfortable clothing?
I don't know if you get a
life that?
choice. I don't know.
I don't know. I find that a little like that's like a red flag for me right there.
Yeah. So again, that's why I took that. I'm sorry. That paragraph was not meant to be in these notes.
Yeah.
I tried to focus on ones that have names and are more specific.
But also, so this evidence you're going to give right now, just go ahead and say it then so I can say more about that.
Yeah.
Then.
So Yoko Ono also says that she would see her late husband playing the piano. She claimed to often see him sitting behind the white grand piano in their apartment. Yeah. And one time she claims that he looked at her and said, "Don't be afraid, I am still with you."
All right. Well, sorry if you're listening, Yoko. I don't mean to do this to you. You're probably a lovely, lovely person. I'm sure you are, but Yoko's into some pretty weird things too. I will say that. And also to the classic piano scene, it's like, can this paint a more vivid picture for people, than to see him in one of his most iconic spots in his life, in the Dakota by his grand piano? I don't know. To me, and I know you ghost believers are going to say, yeah, he would be at the place that people recognize him the most. But I just think that is our memories of him and not necessarily his memories of himself. So I don't know if he would be in his most iconic spots, wearing the most iconic clothes that he was. I don't know. Yoko has said a lot of things that I have trouble believing too. So I'm gonna sadly give Yoko a 0 on this one.
Okay. For me, this one's another. I'm going to go 6. I'll go 6 because it is, Yoko. So, there is something where maybe it's her grief, but I think a lot of people who claim to see the ghosts of loved ones, this is often the situation, when you're still living in the spot and they had a favorite spot that they like to be, that's where you see them. So that makes sense to me.
Also too, like with Yoko, she is an artist of many different types. You can't label her a photographer or a painter or a screamer or whatever you want to call her as her art. She has no label to it. What if ghost story is another form of art? What if coming up with a ghost story, and then you can't ruin the art by saying, I made that up. That would ruin it all. So maybe this is another art form for her.
Well,
I don't know.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So now this next one, super interesting. And there's like, it's weird. So this came out just this year, like a couple months ago in August 2025. The Mirror published a story quoting Paul McCartney. Now,
I've actually heard of this. Too,
I mean, it's in a lot of, it's been around a long time.
I think we talked about this once too on an episode, and I don't remember exactly, but go ahead.
I don't remember that, but maybe we did. But anyways, it's one of those things like we don't know who repeated this conversation.
Yeah.
So therefore, you can't totally like you can't substantiate it completely.
Yeah.
Okay. But supposedly Paul McCartney, this was when I think it was 1995. The 3 remaining Beatles at that time went back to record a song where they had John's track for it, kind of similar to what they just recently did. And something happened. So he said that there were a lot of uncanny occurrences that happened during the recording. So, quote, there were a lot of strange goings on in the studio. This was when they were recording Free as a Bird. Noises that shouldn't have been there and equipment doing all manner of weird things. There was just an overall feeling that John was around. We put one of those spoof backward recordings on the end of a single for a laugh to give all those Beatle nuts something to do. I think it was a line of George Frumby's song. Then we were listening to the finished single in the studio one night, And it gets to the end and it goes, John Lennon. I swear to God, we were like, it's John. He likes it.
No, I don't think we talked about this. Yeah, you did do a good job.
you.
We actually talked about a Dave Grohl thing where he said something was haunted and musical instruments were like detuned or something like that. It was one musician that they said that about.
Gotcha.
And it's like, yeah.
There's also one more thing. I just realized I didn't put it in here. Is during that time, they also claimed that a white bird came around while they were recording, and that was something that they had all told each other that would be like a clue of them returning or something.
Okay.
But anyways, so let's go with what we got here. So what do you think about the equipment doing all manner of things?
Yeah, I mean, equipment has a tendency to do that. It is like I'm looking at my guitar right now, and there is a lot of electronics that go into it. Guitars oftentimes will have little things like they use old condenser pieces in there in the motherboard looking area of it. I don't know what that's called, but they use like special ones to get a special sound and stuff like that. Some of these are considered like antique, and they're super rare and super hard to find, where if it has a bit of a flaw, you put up with it because it gives you the sound that you want. But it's not perfect. And you kind of celebrate it for its flaws sometimes too. That could be one of the things that it is. Musical equipment, they do things with music that you would not think about, like guitar pedals. They have pedals that make different effects. So you would put on one and it adds distortion to it. It's not like always just an effect with the guitar. That's not just what the guitar sounds like. They're putting it through this. But some of these older pedals too work better when the battery is almost drained. So they have come up with like a way to plug it in, but only give it enough power to simulate that the battery is going dead. So you'll get funky things like this too. There's a lot of funky stuff that comes with music, not only if you're playing funk. It's, there are stuff that they do to purposely get these kind of things. So yeah, I mean...
You dismiss the idea of the equipment part.
I think it's great. I mean, I love that kind of stuff. I love the kind of sounds that would come out of these weird things. But yeah, if you have a bunch of old equipment, or if you have a bunch of things that are like handmade and stuff too, they will do stuff like that. Like sometimes with the guitar pickups, and I'm going really geeky here, they will hand wind. So they put a coil around it to make those sounds. That's kind of how it works. But sometimes that's done by hand, and that costs more money too, because it's, more precious. But then again, you will not get the same exact sound out of two guitars that are hand strung, because even if it's strung by the same person, it won't have the exact same tension on it that the other one would. These are crazy things that make crazy sounds. So yes, and I know Paul would know that. So I'm not saying that it is like that he's not aware of something like that, because I know you're going to come back with that too. I am fully aware that he would be aware of that. He gets asked about John all the time. And sometimes it's nice to have something to say, I'm not saying he's making it up. I'm just saying that he's going to give this a little bit more credence in this interview, because it's a fun story. It's fun. I mean, I don't know if he really believes that. And then when we're talking about the backwards song thing at the end, that's a studio trick that they do. It's not perfect. And sorry, you mess with something, you get weird effects like that. Like, are we going to go back and talk about all the Beatles albums where they said that they're devil worshippers and stuff like that? And all the times Black Sabbath, people listen to it, stuff like that. They make weird sounds. That's what they do. And we as people make those weird sounds into words that aren't meant to be words.
Well, it's kind of like a spirit box, I guess.
It is, yeah.
I took it, though, to mean that, like, they heard that, but that isn't what most people would hear. Like, it changed that time when they heard it to hear his name.
Oh, okay.
I don't
didn't
know
take
if
it
that's
as
the
that.
true, but if that's, yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. To me, I mean, it's interesting.
It is interesting. And I love it. I love those kind of stories. And I love any time that like his bandmates are going to feel closer to him and stuff. That's great. Keep that, but I'm here to be the bad guy in this situation and say, sorry, it's worth a 0 to me.
Well, I, for one, believe Paul, and I think it's super interesting. So I'm going to give this one a 7.
Is it Paul or Fall?
Paul.
Because Fall was the name of Paul after he died, remember? So he's not the same Paul that was originally.
Yeah, I believe in ghosts, not necessarily conspiracy theories. So there you go. So what's your score on this one?
Yeah, 0, yeah.
So let it be on the record that Pat Harrington has given Paul McCartney a 0.
In his ghost story, not in his music, not in his sense of humor. I think he's very funny. I love Paul, but
right. So when you now
so
look
Paul,
up on the internet,
Paul, when you're ready to come on Ghostly and give us the real story, please just give us a jingle.
There you go. All right, we got 2 more. So let's keep her moving here. So
Okay.
we've got Julian, right?
Yes.
We mentioned Julian earlier. So John's first son. He once said, quote, "One thing Dad said to me should he pass away, if there was any way of letting me know he was going to be okay, the message would come to me in the form of a white feather. Then something happened to me about 10 years ago when I was on tour in Australia. I was presented with a white feather by an Aboriginal tribal elder, which definitely took my breath away. One thing for sure is that the white feather always represented peace to me." So it's not like he's saying, I saw a ghost, but he is saying like he made that connection. And to me, that made more sense than the bird thing with the Beatles or with
Okay.
you know what I mean? I think that's probably where that came from. But this is a quote from Julian.
Okay, so all right. I appreciate this, and I appreciate like any time that I have a memory of my father, I think it's beautiful. And I love to have that little callback, to a man that meant the world to me. Obviously, if you've listened to our episode of Why I'm a Skeptic, that's part of the reason. And if you haven't and are sitting here yelling at your car stereo or wherever or your AirPods as you're listening to this, go back and listen to that episode. I do it because I need to.
Now, well, I was going to say too, maybe talk a little bit about things that you see when someone passes.
Oh yeah. So I noticed when people that were close to me at one time passed away that I was estranged from, that I would see a hummingbird. And in an area where I wouldn't typically see hummingbirds. And it's funny now because there's a lot of hummingbirds in that area, but it's because recently there were planted things that attract them. But before there wasn't those things. So, I mean, they could be there, but it just wasn't common for them to be there. And I thought that was neat, Now, do I say, well, that's obviously the ghost of them coming to me? No, it's a reminder for me to remember them. And I think that I don't think that's a bad thing. But to answer this,
Yeah.
how many times have you seen a white bird in your life?
Not very often. Other than
But you have seen some
Yeah.
pigeons and stuff like that that are white.
Yeah, maybe.
How many times have you seen a white feather in your life?
I mean, yes, I've seen a white feather.
Yeah, like laying on the ground or something like that. What about if somebody told you that was somebody from your past saying hello to you?
Now, a little different though is that before he passed,
Yeah.
John told Julian if something, because again, remember,
Yeah.
he was worried about this. He was worried about this. So he told him, I will come in the form of a white feather for you. And then he's dead there. And it isn't just like he saw a white feather on the sidewalk.
Yeah, he was presented it by...
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, but I'm just saying, it's like, what about if I said, when I go, if you ever see a Diet Coke that's me giving you a message. Because I love me some Diet Coke. And Diet Coke, if you want to sponsor
well,
us,
I think DC
I would be happy to.
It's a bit more common than...
Okay. What about if I said a walnut? Anytime you see a walnut. I mean, I'm just saying, it's like, this is something that you're going to see in your life. How many of you listeners have seen a white feather in your life? All of you have, probably, unless you just stay in the house all the time and don't have any birds. You're going to see white feathers in your life. That doesn't mean that it's somebody saying something, but I'm glad that he was able to link it to that memory, and I'm sure it put a smile on his face.
So what are you going to score it?
I'm going to score it a 0, unfortunately.
Wow, it doesn't
Sorry,
even
Julian.
get a 1. Jeez.
No, because there's no doubt in my mind. That's the reason why. I'm not giving it credit because I don't like it. I love that story.
I'm
That's
giving
great.
this one an 8.
Okay.
Absolutely. Has a ton of significance.
Okay.
Okay, and then I added one more because it was fun. Okay, so we all know that Oasis, especially Liam, like feels that they're like the Beatles reincarnated.
Yes,
right?
they do.
Okay.
Yes.
So supposedly he said, I was in Manchester at a mate's house, and I turned around and there I was lying on the bed. I sort of fell back into my body. There was a presence there, and it was him, Lennon. So I don't know exactly what that all means, but he feels like he was in the presence of John Lennon.
Okay.
He also claims that he owns Lennon's former rocking chair, and he believes that the rocking chair is haunted. He said, I've got Lennon's rocking chair somewhere. Well, I used to years ago, but I move houses quite a bit, every couple of years, so I don't know where. It's probably in storage at the moment, which is a shame. It sometimes freaks me out. Sometimes I come downstairs and it's rocking on its own. So, two different stories there, but what do you think? Did he have an experience in bed where he was in the presence of John Lennon?
No, I think he just got done yelling at his brother, and then he saw these things, and it's because of his anger or something like that. I don't know. And
don't look back in anger.
Well, he did. I don't know. This is Liam. I like Oasis. They're fine. I don't have any issues with them. I'm teasing about his anger issues, but he does have them. I mean,
yeah, that pretty well.
But if anybody's going to claim to have seen John Lennon's ghost, Liam, I would say, would probably be the least credible of those people because of how big of a fan he is of John. And, you know, I mean, he wants this to be who he is that he is attached to John Lennon. And sorry, Liam, but you can come on the show and yell at me if you want to. And I'll bleep out on any swear words that you use.
Does that apply to the rocking chair then as well?
Yeah, the rocking chair can come on the show and yell at me if it wants to. Yeah. I don't believe the rocking chair. He doesn't even know where it's at.
Yeah.
You know, if it was that important, if he really believed that John Lennon's ghost is attached to this chair, you'd put it in storage? Yeah, I don't know. I don't believe that for 1 second. So, no, I'm going to give this one a 0.
I give this one a 4. I do think that they've always been kind of desperate to be connected to the Beatles, and so like why not have that story out there? So maybe, but probably not.
All right, we're going to do the overall rating in the aftermath, which is the next part of the show if you stick around past this break. All right. Thank you for joining us in the aftermath.
Had a big debate there.
We did have a big debate. So what would be your overall rating then, Rebecca?
All right. So my overall rating is going to be a 7.
A 7.
Yes.
Okay. A 7.
A 7.
A 7. Mine is going to be a 1 because I gave a 1. Yeah, I did give a 1. And
who knew he'd believe the neighbors, folks? Who?
Well, it's not that I believe him. It's just that I have nothing to go on. The one is not out of belief. The one is out of not being able to explain.
Gotcha.
You know, so that's why I do that.
Okay.
And it's not that I think I gave a pretty good explanation, but I still have to give them that fraction.
All right.
You know. All right, so that brings us to the closing arguments. This is our last chance to convince you to vote our way. We are each given 1 minute of uninterrupted time. We will time each other on the Ghostly Studio timer to keep everyone honest. Rebecca, are you ready?
Yes.
And here we go.
All right. So I do think John Lennon is still haunting people on Earth. I mean, it's interesting. I never saw a negative story. There's never been something where he scared people or was threatening in any way. It's always, people hear clips of, maybe him playing piano or see him standing there or, he is interfering with their music in some way, presenting himself in a positive way to them. And I just think that seems very much like him, that maybe in the afterlife, he was finally able to find some peace and that he does come and visit. And the fact that there's so many people in his real life that have seen him, it's not just, the strangers out there. I think that means something. And I think he is a ghost.
All right, right down to the second there, Rebecca.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Pat, am I ready? Yes, I am ready. All right, let's go. That was me, by the way, doing me. Okay, so, man, if there was anybody that could be a ghost, I would love it to be John Lennon. I mean, I would love to be, I think John Lennon was a musical genius. I don't think he was as good of a songwriter as Paul, because Paul's got the more popular ones, but I think he was musically a genius. And I don't say that about many people. I mean, they started something that just will live on forever. And unfortunately, that means that his ghost, so-called ghost, people thinking that he's a ghost will live on forever. And I don't believe it's true, but I'm glad that you have memories of that person to think of. And that's it.
All right, almost.
I had 8 seconds left.
8 seconds left. Oh, that's good.
All right, so you have a ghost story that you're dying to share? Now you can. Ghostly has an official phone line. Call or text us with your spooky encounter. And if you leave a voicemail, you might hear it on the show. Just like in the last couple of episodes, you've heard Bob. You can also just say hi or make your voice heard in our latest poll. Also, too, we're coming up on our 7-year anniversary. If you just want to call and say happy anniversary, I would love to play that too.
Absolutely.
But if you're using this to vote, here's how to vote. Text the episode title. So this one would be John Lennon. Or you could say 176 because this is our 176th titled episode like that. And your vote. Yes, if you're a believer.
No, if you're a skeptic.
Then give it a haunting score from 1 to 10. Remember, our software doesn't allow you to give the zeros like I can give. And I want to be able to use it in the software so we don't have to manually figure out anything as far as numbers go. But your opinion matters. Let us know what you think. Here's that number, 312-869-9929. That's 312-869-9929. Rebecca, what's the number?
312-869-9929. And that is, again, a great way. Sometimes the idea of like writing out your story seems like, but you could just call and tell us the story. Yeah. This is a good way to do that. So we hope to hear from you.
Or have you seen John Lennon since he died?
Oh yeah, that definitely.
Let us know. Or anybody, if you have any kind of relation to any of the episodes, please call it in and let us hear it.
Yeah, we love to hear those.
So this would be a part where we would do shout outs on the episode. There are no shout outs to give. You've heard me before talk about it. I'll talk about it after October is over, but we would love to get shout outs. You know how to do it.
Give us a review and join us on Patreon, all on our website, ghostlypodcast.com. Right? I do have a listener mail.
Okay, great.
So we don't have a voicemail this week, but I'm excited because I get to start reading a letter that we received. So we received one of these before. This is from a different person.
Okay.
And her name is Nicole.
Nicole.
Yeah. So
thank you, Nicole.
Thank you, Nicole. And it's a nice long letter. She's got a lot of stories. So we're going to break it up.
All right.
Okay. So, hey, Pat and Rebecca, I absolutely love your podcast.
Hey, Nicole.
Hey, Nicole. As I love history and the paranormal. I even belong to a local paranormal investigation group. So definitely let us know more about them because I don't think she gives us the name. I am a true believer, but I'm also a realist and know that not everything that happens is paranormal. Anyway, I have been wanting to send y'all my experiences for a while now, but I wanted to get caught up on the podcast first. I apologize in advance, so this is very long, but I've had a lot of experiences. So, and she gives us permission to break them up as we see fit.
Okay, great.
Okay, so here we go. I grew up in Rhode Island. My aunt and uncle lived in an old house listed on the historic registry that was used in the Underground Railroad. This house was in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by trees. My family stayed there for the weekend to house/pet sit while they were away once when I was around 9 or 10. One night, I was lying in my cousin's bed and I couldn't sleep. I was just lying there, and all of a sudden, this huge, white, stereotypical ghost-looking thing flew over the bed and went in between the bed and the wall. I screamed, and my parents came running into the room. They looked everywhere and didn't find anything. They kept telling me it was a bug, but I knew it wasn't a bug.
Okay.
So we'll stop there. We got more stories coming from that weekend and other times, but...
The bug that could have been.
I mean... That's like a movie scene to like see this like thing and then it goes into the wall and disappears. Freaky, Nicole. Freaky.
Yeah, definitely freaky. Thank you for sending us this in the actual mail. That's crazy. You know, I love getting stuff in the actual mail. And if you want to be one of those people that I would love to see the letter of, you can send it to P.O. Box number 264, Geneva, Illinois, 60134. I'm not going to repeat that because you can find it in the footer of ghostlypodcast.com.
Absolutely. Just go there. You can also email us at info@ghostlypodcast.com. Use the contact us form on ghostlypodcast.com. Or, of course, DM us on socials at Ghostly Podcast. Be sure to follow us there. Join the Ghostly Society on Facebook if you haven't. You can see that live episode that we have posted up there.
Yeah, and also, too, remember that you can call. That's 312-869-9929. 312-869-9929.
All right.
Don't let your friends miss out on the chills. Share Ghostly with them and help us grow this community of paranormal enthusiasts. Your support means the world to us. I want to give a shout out to our VIP producers who make this all possible. We have Andrew,
Alicia,
Becky,
Cindy,
Kevin,
Jessica,
Alice,
and Aaron.
Is it real? You be the judge. Share your verdict at ghostlypodcast.com poll section and let the debate continue. Subscribe to Ghostly now and get ready for more spine-tingling encounters with the unknown.
So remember that the polls are going to be open for all of our celebrity ghost episodes through the month. So if you are just listening to all of them now, go vote if it's still in October 2025.
Okay.
On the next episode of Ghostly, we're going to be talking about our last celebrity. Not forever, but just for right now, Marilyn Monroe.
A woman that notoriously wore white.
I love it. Yeah. And this comes out right before Halloween. It'll be perfect, October 29th.
And until next time, stay ghostly.
Bye.